most of the bull markets, when I look back at 1999 and 2007, they end with the Fed having to fight inflation, or there's a higher energy prices, asset prices are going up, and the Fed is raising rates, and the market fights it for a while, but eventually the market does roll over and you get a recession. I'm looking at right now and I go, this is even going back to our early question. I'm like, wow, what's the problem? Inflation is low. The Fed is able to cut rates. Energy prices are at record lows. This doesn't feel like a top. This is actually, what is the problem here? Earnings are fine. The Fed, interest rates are low, can be lower. Energy's record cheapness, especially on inflation adjusted terms. Let's use our imagination. What if this bull market is going to go a lot further, and the only thing that will end this bull market is when the Fed is getting forced to raise rates and shut it down? And the only thing that's going to drive that kind of a problem is energy. And then the other thing I go into, the two other points, is that India has finally reached a point of economic growth that where China was in 2004. They finally have the discretionary income to spend money on energy. And I know we talk about EVs, but the penetration of EVs in India is minimal. So there's a demand piece, and there's finally a supply piece that, after all these years, we're seeing play after play in the US start to flatten out in terms of production. The Permian is the one still cranking out a little bit of growth. But if we look at the stack, or like the supply makeup of global oil now, that's so much growth from shale and not much growth from anywhere else in the world, that the oil supply in the world now has a very rapid depletion curve, much more rapid than it ever did before when it was all traditional fields. So if the US starts to, if we've hydrated everything, we've maxed out the efficiencies from lateral drilling and all these things that these rabbits we've been pulling out of the hat, if we're kind of gotten to the end of this and we don't even think about it anymore because it's been so consistent, we actually have a situation where oil supply could deplete quite faster than ever before. You could actually lose 5 million barrels a day in a year if you didn't drill anymore. At the same time, we've been investing less in offshore exploration, and it's taking longer to bring offshore fields online. So just to say, there's like this kind of black swan or this setup where, wow, what if we get into this issue where US fields start to deplete and the world has to scramble to bring supply online that it didn't expect. We have growth stronger than we expect, and we didn't, we could actually have a supply problem. So, and wouldn't that make sense, as that's the thing that actually ends this bull market is, high energy prices. And just as one other thing, look at the commodities. And by the way, I've been following this whole thing commodity by commodity, and I can tell you every bear market on gold was not supposed to go up. Gold wasn't going to go up because Bitcoin was the new hot thing and boomers don't get it. There was a whole thing that gold was not going to ever go into a bull market again. That happened. Then silver went. Then the next thing was, platinum and palladium won't go into a bull market. Combustible engines, blah, blah, blah. Now platinum and palladium are up 50, 60%. Copper wasn't supposed to go up because China has a bear market in property. Bum, bum, bum. The dominoes are falling. And I'm like, okay, oil is the next one. And of course, there's a massive bear market. And why there's a whole story why oil can't ever go up. But you know what? There was a story about every other commodity not going up. And also in many commodity markets, they tend to go up and down. Or when you look over the 70s and you look at the bull market, they generally do move together with a lag. So sorry to say, long story, but this is the case, but it is absolutely on its lows and it hasn't moved. And the only thing I can say is it hasn't made a new low. So it's just kind of, for now, it's hanging in there. So that's the $200 oil case.